We're back. I'm back. I just keep finding people in hallways. I'm just going to start dragging people into like live feeds. They're going to be like, Liz, can you please let all the Pega executives
drag me in
actually just go and do their jobs? I'm going to be like, no, they can't do their jobs. They've got to come talk with me. Hey, everyone, we're back with a little bit of a live conversation here in Las Vegas, here at PegaWorld. It is getting screaming hot outside, but we are here in the cool recording room that the team has set up for us. So thank you all so much for that. But I'm here with Matt. Shall I say, I'm here with Moose. Moose?
Yeah, Moose.
I'm here with Moose. Okay, there's a hand jet, there's a whole thing. But I'm here, and we're here to talk about what's happening here at PegaWorld. We're here to talk about what's happening in customer engagement, customer experience, what's happening with data, what's happening with analytics. We're gonna have an awesome time doing it. But first, we're gonna start with the most important thing. I gotta have you tell the folks what you do.
Of course, I'm a product marketer with Pega.
I'm a marketer.
Best job
too.
out there.
I really feel like we have to have some kind of support group. Like, hi, my name is Liz. I'm a marketer, and we're just going to go on to the next thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so Matt, what do you focus on here with Pega? Kind of what's your domain? What are the things you get to go break and fix?
Yeah. So my focus as a team is helping organizations across industries get better at customer engagement.
Love it.
And that's leveraging things like AI, what everyone's talking about,
What?
real-time decision
Is that a
to do
thing
that.
now?
I think it is.
The
I think
AI
it's becoming
thing?
a thing. Yeah.
I don't know. Alan got on stage this morning and in his keynote said, a lot of it's bullshit. He did say BS. I keep saying the whole word, but he did just say the letters. We just had a great roundtable with Alan, and so maybe I'll start there because it's like the secret stuff I'm going to say out loud to everybody who's watching. Had a great roundtable with like your boss, right, the big man, and one of the things that he says he's so excited about when he starts to think into the future is just how much more efficient, how much faster, how much more adoption is going to happen as people really start to chip away some of that BS and really see what AI is going to be doing for their organizations, but I think really doing for their processes, right? Doing for like what the work. Like, I know we can talk about workflows, we can talk about processes, but let's call it what our people call it. Yeah. It's the work, right? Like, this is the AI that applies to the work. These are the processes that are getting better. When you start to look at where your customers were, maybe even last PegaWorld, right? And where they are today, especially when it comes to things like customer decision hub, right? Which I know is a big part of what kind of the area that you look after. Where do you think the evolution has gotten your customers in the last 12 months? And then where are they leaping off to as you kind of push them out of Las Vegas and say, go do more?
I love that question. So last year, I think we were all reacting to this new hype cycle of AI. Everyone's freaking out about what they do next. What AI do I need? And I think a year later, people are kind of ready to actually start doing it, start using it. I think the fears have diminished a little bit. We realize that it's something that, you mentioned processes, like it's not all about breaking those or the capabilities or so forth, but
or firing every human in the building. Like some of that nonsense has kind of died down, but this is what I find so interesting. Pega's customers, let's even just take customer, let's just take Decision Hub, right? I always like shorten names, don't mind me. But let's just take that as an example. That has always had machine learning. That has always had process. That has always had workflow. That's always had automation. Gen AI is certainly cutting through that. But are you seeing your customers maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable asking the data new questions instead of re-asking the old ones?
Yeah, I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So there's this metaphor. I'm sure you've heard this whole left brain, right brain thing.
Yeah.
Like
us marketers,
Yeah, us marketers. We love our metaphors, our visuals. And, statistical AI has been, like you're talking about, something we've been doing for a bit. And Gen AI comes in with this creative component. And your point about asking the data questions, I mean, Gen AI is letting people do that literally, and by getting those insights, they can be better at their jobs. They can be less worried about being fired and just be better at their jobs and help their customers and have better day-to-day as well.
But are people also looking for Customer Decision Hub to do something different? Because I think, so last year I was here, and I think the big focus on something like Customer Decision Hub was really about personalization. We were almost laser focused on like, how do we finally achieve personalization? And as a marketer, I'm like, I've been chasing that dog for like 30 years, right? Are you seeing customers kind of start to ask and expect for something new? Is it around data and analytics? Is it around understanding my business more because I understand my customers more? Where are you seeing customers go with this? Because our end destination, I'm convinced, our end destination can't be personalization. That can't be all we're doing with these really robust data hubs, right? Are you seeing people get past that?
So I'm going to try my best to wrap those together.
Okay. Ooh.
And something that
I like asking weird questions. I'm so sorry.
No,
so sorry.
Weird questions are the best questions. This is not my insight, but people have been talking about this idea of self-optimization.
Okay.
And I think that's combining a lot of things you just talked about with data and analytics, and improving operations and getting to a place where instead of just focusing on the self-improvement of marketing messages, you can optimize using AI to improve your processes, improve your outbound channels, your inbound channels, your call centers. So it's not just about executing, getting messages out, but if you're a call center agent and you're on the phone with someone, having AI help guide you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're still in control, but you're getting to be able to communicate with Gen AI so you can better understand the data available so you can better help your customers.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people misunderstand why personalization is so important, or why that kind of view of the customer. I think people really want to think, oh, I've got this hub, it's got all of my data in it, and it's got like, I finally figured out where I can win the data decathlon, and I'm going to put it all, it's like a mountain, and you're like, I'm going to get an award someday, and then no one comes with the award, and we're like bummed.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that people also misunderstand the concept of customer centricity, right? And they think that like, oh, I want to be customer centric, so therefore I must have all of my data in one location, and I've got to do everything for my customer, and I've got to be obsessed with my customer. And they forget that like obsession leads to arrest sometimes. Like, we kind of forget that just every once in a while. Like, don't actually be obsessed with your customers, like leave them alone a little bit. But when you start to look at what customers are doing with Customer Data Hub, when you look across all of kind of the AI, and when you look across, whether it's the layer cake or all of the automations that are happening through the workflow, how are your customers delivering on this idea of engaging in the moment with that customer centricity kind of ethos behind them, so that they can deliver the engagements that, quite frankly, our customers think we've been able to deliver for a really long time?
We haven't
quite
right?
got
there.
Yeah. So give me some examples. Like, what are customers doing differently?
Yeah. So I'll go back to call center. I'll go back to T-Mobile.
I love it. Some of my favorite places. I cover the contact center, so I love it.
And I mean, we've all been through this, not just in the comms industry, but across where you call in, take a step back. You go to the website, something's wrong. You try to chat the chatbot, it doesn't work. You can't find what you're looking for. So you call in.
Or you got the wrong chatbot.
Because
that was the chatbot set up by sales and not the one set up by service, because no one seems to understand that there are multiple chatbots and we can't even get started.
And they're trying to sell you something?
Right, and they're like, did you want another line? And you're like, I wanted my phone to work. Oh, yeah. We're back to PegaWorld. I'm out of
It's frustrating.
It's totally frustrating.
Yeah. So instead of you having to go through all that, you call in, and that poor call center agent, they don't have the data for them yet.
And you've just rage screamed, like the agent, and you've just rage screamed into the phone, and that poor agent's just sitting there like, oh God.
That's her third.
Yeah, that's her third. Yep, absolutely. And she's just churned, like she's brand new.
Yep.
So doesn't know where any of the stuff is, doesn't have that institutional knowledge. What do they then get delivered to help that experience?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do with the Decision Hub, with this real-time brain, which is leveraging statistical AI and Gen AI now.
Love it. Okay.
Basically feed, and you talked about kind of customer 360 data. It's never going to be perfect, but taking the key insights from across your channels, using that to figure out what a customer just went through. I mean, that's a piece of information that, as they're talking to you even before, you can really hone in that conversation and actually help them. We're seeing way more customers do that. And just, it's kind of this compounding effect, right? The more channels, more systems you're getting integrated and that are talking to each other, the more of a real-time sense you have of your customers.
Yeah, but I think that's where the approach, it's interesting. I was just giving Alan a hard time about this. So a couple years ago, I want to say it was like 2022. It's one of the first times we saw the slide of that kind of center out approach, where it's like everything, like all the AI, all that stuff's in the center, and then it can go to the channels, it can go to the systems of engagement. Whether you're using Pega, whether you're using another solution, it can go out to that, yet it can still sit in the center. And it can also pull in that data, it can pull in the process, it can pull in the workflows from your systems, right? Whether you're on SAP, whether you're, wherever you are, that's with that center out approach, you can have that workflow, you can have the understanding, you can have the understanding about your customer in the center, and that pushes out. For me, I think that brings up the interesting thing of not only do people misunderstand customer centricity, people understand the difference between customer centricity and like product centric, and they automatically are like, I can't be product centric. That's so bad. It's so bad to be product centric. So we're going to be a customer centric organization. And in order to do that, we've got to rip everything out. We've got to get 19 CDPs we all bought on our credit cards, have all, like we have this kind of misperception about that, right? Yeah. Where we've got to get the segments right. And then we've got to have all this understanding. We're going to have everything in the center, and it's 360 on and on and on. And they forget that what our customers really want is like a blend. They want us to be a product-centric company because they want us to be creating amazing things that they themselves did not ideate or understand before. It's like Dyson, right? Like no one thought that Dyson was going to create a blow dryer.
Oh,
but
right,
can you think of one person who doesn't want, well, okay, you might not want the Dyson blow dryer, but I'm going to tell you right now.
My hair doesn't get long
enough. Like your wife wants that, yeah, like they like, listen.
Oh, she has it.
Does she have, okay, so.
Yeah.
Point.
One of our first holiday gifts to each other, I got that for her.
You got that for her, right? She was super pumped up.
Yep.
But at the other hand, like there was a part of her brain that was like, it's a vacuum. Dyson's a vacuum. Dyson's a vacuum, right? Like, did you just buy me a hair vacuum? Like, I don't know what happened. So, but that's the point of product centricity, right? It's an organization that can ideate and innovate and create these products that you never knew you needed. But communication around that needs to be super customer centric. And how do you create both? You create both by having all of those systems that can connect and having all those things that can align where you have that in the center. So I do think it's so interesting that that's really core to what you're doing, not just with Decision Hub, but then how it kind of, I don't want to say leech, but that's like the only word I can think of. Like it leaches into everything else, which I think is really, I think it's exciting.
I think you're spot on, right? I mean, across most tech companies' portfolios, right? That's what we're all trying to get to. Yeah. Even if you're kind of like you view yourself as a not customer-facing application, or you are very product-focused, that customer centricity definitely needs to be taken into account. And I love what you're saying about how it's not just a rip and replace thing, right?
Right.
It's this sort of continuum, it's this blend, and I'm sure some industries it's more one way than the other, or whatever. But we're all trying to get there.
Let's be honest, some vendors, right? No one's seeing this. No one's seeing this. We can talk trash about that. It's fine. It's fine. No one will care. But I also want to touch on, because I think all of this, how do I put this? Okay. When we start to talk about AI, I think a lot of people talk about trust. I think a lot of people talk about kind of safety. They talk about security. We have the obvious privacy conversations, but I think that people think of it in a binary way, right? Like they think AI is safe because you've given me an indemnity clause, or AI is safe because you have all of these rules, and we're going to go back to role-based provisioning of things. Pega takes it from a little bit of a different cultural approach. And I think that's because Pega takes Pega at a very different cultural approach to safety. I mean, Alan on stage was talking about how, and even in our one-on-one that we had with him, with our analyst group one-on-one that we had with him, he's talking about, he's like, I have this bot, and it'll tell me when like certain customers create a new blueprint for your blueprint solution, right? And so he knows that a customer has created a blueprint. What he doesn't know is what's in the blueprint. What are the details? What are the systems? What is the data? What are the prompts? What he doesn't know is the substance of the blueprint. He just knows that another customer has created a blueprint, right? And so, yes, he has that access. Yes, he has that visibility. No, he can't go see it. He can't go alter it. He can't go touch it. And most importantly, he couldn't train an AI through Blueprint to do something with it. with the customer's blueprint. That is like sacred to the customer. And I think that's really important. So can you talk to me a little bit more about, especially from where you sit, customer data, all coming into Customer Data Hub, right? AI running through it. You're going to have customers that are going to ask you, how can I trust Pega's view of that repository of data and the AI you have around it?
Awesome question.
I try.
And I love that we're coming back to this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that, I mean, I feel like this is cliche, but top down, right? I mean, Alan is, for years baked this into our culture, right? We've got people like Rob Walker and Peter.
Yeah, amazing.
Great speakers, great visionaries, and they, have for years approached AI with this responsible AI lens.
Right.
And because of that, everything we're doing, we're being intentional. We know that it's never going to be perfect. Bias is always going to slip in. We don't want that. We need to have guards in place. We have this thing called Customer Profile Viewer, where if you are a client of CDH, you can go in, you can see what decisions were made for a customer, and you can see what models were used. Yeah, and it's really great.
It's like a lineage to decision. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I love
perfectly
it.
said.
I love it.
And that's that's by looking at that, you can continuously improve. You can see what models are not performing well. So I think it all comes from that. It's something that's been baked into our DNA.
Yeah.
This whole responsible, being ethical, being empathetic to customers. Everything you're doing in AI should be with them in mind. Like you said, we don't want to be creepy. We want to be helpful.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting, because I think that having that lineage, I think people think about it as that's really good because Pega works with a lot of regulated industries. And yes, that's true, right? Like, absolutely. You guys work in, government, finance. There are a lot of regulations that have to be dealt with day in and day out. But I think the reality here is that it's not something that's new, right? This attitude of digital safety, this attitude and this posture of not being able to go in, being able to see that lineage of how a decision was made. That's far more about almost like digital fairness. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, right? Yeah. Because I think a lot of people talk about responsible AI and what that really means for a lot of your competitors and a lot of vendors out there and a lot of bad actors out there, is it means that you've got a policy that explains why you did the bad things that you did, as opposed to not doing them.
Yeah, right.
Even though doing them makes you a lot of money. That hasn't been the decision here.
No, that's
I think
that's spot on.
It's probably a fair thing to say.
Like you said, I mean, we're the data that we're taking in from across our products, and even like Alan was talking about Blueprint.
You're bringing in third-party data, like with CDH though. I mean, like, it becomes wildly important. I don't think we talk about it in CDP enough. Like, honestly, I don't think we talk about it when it comes to customer data and customer analytics, especially in the CX space. We don't have this conversation enough, right? It's not just about the responsibility of the AI. It's about the responsibility of the data that we've been collecting, the visibility into the data that we've been collecting. We don't have to collect it all. Right, like,
there's diminishing returns, right? I mean,
totally.
A lot of the predictive models that data scientists are creating, or the adaptive models that you find in decisioning software, there's great tools in Pega and out of Pega that you can use to optimize what predictive attributes are actually helping. So you don't need to collect a bunch of data that is kind of meaningless.
But it's also why the Pega ecosystem is so important.
Yeah.
Right, because you have to be able to figure out where all of this is coming from. But where isn't it coming from, right? What are you missing in that decision tree? Is that where a lot of things like Blueprint suddenly becomes a very different plan? Because I think a lot of people, like, when I first heard about Blueprints earlier in the year, I kind of thought that, like, okay, that's going to be for like the main project manager, or that might be for someone who's really looking at a focused business application. But really, there are a lot of overlaps and places where someone who is looking at customer data, customer decisioning, someone who is a marketer, someone who's in the contact center, can really be looking at Blueprints and pulling in to identify, where aren't we bringing in the right data? Where is the process breaking down? Is that really where you see Blueprints and something like CDH aligning and really starting to kind of create a different path for your customers?
Exactly. Identifying those gaps, seeing what you need, what you don't need, is, I didn't see that in Blueprint as well. when it first came
Really?
out. I was a little, I
You were like, well, this is great, but I don't know what my customers are going to do.
yeah, decisioning,
Right, you're like,
marketing. It seems like a process.
What, don't we already have Asana? You're like, were you kind of,
right,
totally,
right.
totally.
And I think, you said it as well. I think a lot of people have felt that way. And then they're surprised in a very good way how much more you can do with it. Might be some more blueprinting coming out for maybe decisioning in the future, which we'll optimize.
Don't worry, I'm gonna go play and break. I'm warning everybody in the booth right now. If there's anyone, I'm gonna go play with it and break it later. So shh, don't tell them. No, we're not. I mean, like the dozens of people are gonna watch this. They're gonna go warn everybody in the booth that I'm gonna go break a blueprint. No, I'm gonna be able to do it. Just tell me what you want broken, and I'll send it over. Okay, when you start to look at like what comes next. Yes, AI has dominated the conversation for the last year to 2 years, especially where you sit with kind of in this really unique spot where, marketing, engagement, all of that front line comes together. Yes, we've got the AI. Let's assume everyone's going to dig into it and really use it. What are you excited about? What do you see coming in the next year that you're like, okay, next year when you and I sit down and we do this live stream, Liz, this is what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so that's great. I think that with the technological advancements we've had last year, Gen AI has really given a lot of data and analytics folks, a lot of technical marketers, opportunities. There's also still fears, but I think those are the groups that, they're more comfortable with technology. So they're more likely to try it out. What I really hope next year we're talking about is instead of, Jeff from T-Mobile, their head of data analytics and AI, I hope that, it's a marketer going up there and talking about how they, their teams, especially their creative teams and their, campaign marketers, or using various AI to, get their creative together to expedite things. And I hope that, in Decision Hub, we make it easier for them to do that using our products as well.
I love it. You're looking for the velocity of that, like the velocity that comes after AI.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, folks, you heard it here first. Awesome conversation with you. I'm so glad you came and joined me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh no, my God, absolutely. What should we go break next? I mean, what should we go learn next? I do like to break stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Y'all know that. Well, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. You are going to be able to get a recap of this conversation and see it, for those of you who are joining us live, as a CX Convo. But you're going to hear a lot more from Moose here. I'm just telling you, this one's on the rise. So thanks for joining me. We'll talk to you guys next time.